So if my voice sounds funny, it's because it's not because I'm about to cry, because I have a cold. So. Do you have a question?
What's your name?
Josh.
What's your last name?
Ames's.
Ames's.
Yeah.
Ames's.
Ames's. Thank you.
You can cry if you want, man.
We'll see. I'm writing this because you're dead now, and if you were alive, you might read it, and I would be embarrassed. I love you, but I can't stand your disapproval. It's so quiet. The pages in your hand, your eyes move. And by the silent pinch of a crease between your eyes, I can tell you hate what you're reading, the room in which you're reading it, and me for writing it. I always thought when you died I would kill myself, and that would only be as inconvenient as checking the mail or taking out the trash. The means were no trouble, but the ways were puzzling. The train seemed a good hedge, and very hard to screw up. Thousands of pounds of metal speeding down an electrified track. How could one go wrong? But I wondered, should I buy a ticket or duck the turnstile? Which would it be? This question was enough to keep me away from the terminal. I don't believe stealing is wrong. Theft is beautiful. Take whatever you want. Our gods don't keep track. What concerned me was whether I wanted my last purchase in this body to be a $2.25 single ride ticket for a train which I intended to fall beneath rather than ride. It was without glory, but did I need glory? And since it was unlikely my $2.25 would go toward anything to benefit me as a customer, I could guarantee that a train would not arrive fast enough for me to throw myself in its path before the police would descend like misshapen paladins to snatch me from the platform. And what would I say? If I admitted anything, they would expect me to thank them. I considered the lagoon in Prospect Park. It had to be deep enough, and there were no entrance fees. I could very easily bring several of the reusable bags we took shopping and fill them with stones from the lakeshore and attach these to my body. Since there's nowhere from which to dive unless I were to climb a tree overhanging the water, but that didn't seem practical with several bags of rocks. I would have to wade out until the water was above my head and pray that my resolve was unshakable. But theoretically it was possible. However, when I took Hypatia to the park 2 or 3 days after you were no longer there to come along, I let her off the leash so she could get muddy and act like a dog, and I went down to the water to look for stones large enough to sink myself. But aside from those cemented to the shoreline, formed an ersatz wharf on which the Haitians who occupy this corner of the park to drum and cast spells late into the evening might dangle their dark limbs in a darker water, cloudy with oil and gridlocked by beer cans, well, there was nothing. I tugged one, testing the possibility of its removal. Further scouring revealed all stones large enough to be used for construction or destruction on any significant scale had been uprooted and taken away. And how I seethed beneath the slate-gray sky, cursing the tenure in this city that had killed you and its regimenting of the natural world and the loss of our identity as a result, or maybe our ability to identify with it. Is there a difference? And I thought all this, but I didn't say it because you were not there to offer a counterpoint, and I was still left with the problem of ballast. Though I have plenty, books were out of the question, because what kind of Philistine would do such a thing? Why not lock myself in a library and set it on fire? The heaviest thing I could remember owning was an antique juicer we had acquired after some effort, though never used, which weighed as much as a tombstone. But I was not confident I could get it to the lagoon without help, and I knew no one whose assistance I could summon and dismiss at will. Because I should be honest, I have no friends. I used to tell you, like I was joking, that all our friends were really your friends, that whenever we went to Arvin and Catalina's on Rugby Road, I was tolerated because of my association with you, but not enjoyed, because who exactly was I? They could never be sure. And I could vouchsafe nothing behavior-wise. I might be withdrawn or jocular, brooding or polite, or I might simply drink too fast and have to leave early. And Drusilla and Eric never really knew me as anything aside from your lurking, potentially handicapped consort. But what patience I didn't have for their endless Italian dinners at the same restaurant on Smith Street. And when someone opened a bottle of Chianti, you could smell it across the room, and the wood-fired oven always burnt my pizza on the bottom but not on top, so I would bite down after waiting hours for the thing to arrive and receive a mouthful of charcoal with cheese. Or even the friends from school, these pilgrims from a past life suddenly appearing on the wrong side of the park. You turn a corner on Bergen Street, and there they are, in the up-and-coming neighborhoods, posting jokes on Facebook. about how they expect to be shot at for being white because Crown Heights is less safe than Rwanda, circa 1994. Ha ha ha, LOL, LOL, LOL. And asking you to come to their housewarming potlatch and help welcome them to the city as though they just returned from a six-year internship. And Brooklyn is actually one large liberal arts campus on which you can forever be exactly the person you were sophomore year. To be fair, you never wanted to see these people either. Mark, the itinerant homosexual who took 7 years to graduate from a college that didn't even have grades. Maria. Didn't go here, different school. Maria, tall with terrible acne but otherwise plain, who had taken to sleeping with large 40-year-old black men since moving uptown, because we all have to do our part to end depression after graduation. Ooh. And Bianca, who we fucked together, with everyone performing the equivalent of a B-, minimal oral sex, and more curious than aroused, but still we all left the room with an extra feather in our caps. But to be fair, they called me or tried to later, and I don't know how they found out or what they wanted. And I didn't want to see anyone who would express grief because that's not what you would have wanted. We usually wanted the same things. None of them would help me carry the juicer to the lake. I get in there, it's fine.